Hi there, guys. Thank you so much for having me in your classroom today, even though I'm not really there. My name is Miss Bobby, and I'm here to talk to you today about a very, very important subject, and that subject is respect. Now, why am I the one who's going to be talking to you about this very, very important subject? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, my job. I don't actually live in Texas. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is why you are watching this video of me. And in Las Vegas, I work as a classroom facilitator for a nonprofit called the Rape Crisis Center. So what we do at the Rape Crisis Center in Las Vegas is we serve victims of sexual violence throughout all of Southern Nevada. So if you've been sexually abused, if you've been sexually assaulted, if you need support, if you need counseling, you can use our services. You can call us. We have a 24/7 hotline. But basically, what my job is I go into classrooms just like yours, and I talk about the Rape Crisis Center. I talk about sexual assault, sexual harassment. I talk about stuff that you don't hear in regular classrooms. So that's why this is really a unique opportunity for you guys. So that's the first reason I'm here. The second reason I'm here is because I'm actually really good friends with your teacher, Mrs. Bolick. We met in college a few years ago, and we've just been close ever since. So she actually reached out to me and she said, "Hey, Bobby, I know you do a lot of good work with the Rape Crisis Center. I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk to my kids today about respect." And I said, yes. I said, of course, I would love to talk to your kids. A little bit about me, you guys. I love teaching. I love being up here. I wish I could be there to actually see your faces when things start to click, but I'll settle for this instead. I'm a big Broncos fan. Go Broncos! We won the Super Bowl, so super, super excited about that. And I'm a huge Major geek. As you guys can see, we're filming in my room right now. Got a Green Lantern statue over there. I've got a couple of other superhero stuff. I'm just a huge geek nerd, so that's why me and your teacher get along so well. So yeah, I guess we should just jump right into respect. Now, respect is obviously very important, and it's not really talked about, in core classrooms, like math or science or English. It's like, when are we going to talk about respect? Well, that's when they bring me in. So one of the things that I talk about with my kids is I talk about sexual harassment, and that's what we're going to be focusing on when it comes to respect. And I really suggest that you guys listen to what I'm about to say, because if you don't know what sexual harassment is, if you don't know what makes a behavior sexual harassment, then not only could you get in trouble with the school, but you could also get in trouble with the law. Especially as you get older, and when you're out of school, when you're over 18, if you're sexually harassing or sexually assaulting anybody, they can pursue legal action against you, and you can actually become a sex offender. So, and when that happens, you are a sex offender for life, and that title will always be there. And try getting a job or try finding a place to live if you're a sex offender. So, like I said, it's the next couple of things I'm going to talk about here are really, really important, because you don't first of all, we want to make sure that we respect everybody that we know, and we want to not be sex offenders. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to be using these handy dandy flashcards because I just haven't memorized it all. So I hope you guys don't mind. Also, as you can tell, I don't, know any video formatting or how to make videos. So I appreciate you guys putting up with my shoddy camera work, and hopefully my dog won't start barking. So yeah, let me go through these flashcards really quick. So sexual harassment. Let me give you the dictionary definition. This is the dictionary definition of sexual harassment, okay? Sexual harassment is any unwelcome verbal sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature. Now, if I was actually there in class with you guys, I would ask you, what is the key word in that definition? I'd also have some posters, but like I said, we're working with my camera right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys. The key word in that definition is unwelcomed. Okay, any behavior that is unwelcomed could be sexual harassment. So let me give you guys a little story. Okay, there is another girl that I work with at the Rape Crisis Center. She is also a classroom facilitator, and her name is Julie. Now, Julie's a little bit older than me and Mrs. Bullock. She has a family. And last summer, her and her family went to a water park here in Vegas. It's called Wet n Wild. And they were just waiting in line, waiting to go on this ride. And all of a sudden, Julie's son, and he's in high school, Julie's son all of a sudden gets this weird look on his face. And Julie's like, whoa, what's going on? Like, you got this really weird look on your face. Now, Julie's son, he decided to style his hair in the man bun style. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the man bun. So, he gets this weird look on his face. Julie says, what's wrong? And Julie's son says, the girl behind me just reached out and touched my man bun. And Julie's like, whoa, like, are you okay? Should we say something? Do you want us to do anything? And Julie's son says, no. I feel really weird. I feel really weird that this girl would just reach out and touch my hair. She doesn't even know me. I've never seen her before, and she just reached out and touched my hair. So what Julie's son didn't know was that he was actually being sexually harassed by that girl who decided that she could just reach out and touch his man bun without asking him. Now, on top of it being sexual harassment, it was also extremely, extremely disrespectful. That girl reached out and touched Julie's son's hair without asking him, without getting consent, and that behavior made Julie's son feel really weird and uncomfortable. Any behavior, folks, any behavior that makes the person on the receiving end feel uncomfortable, scared, anxious, or just plain bad, that is sexual harassment. So, once again, any behavior can be sexual harassment if it makes the person on the receiving end feel uncomfortable. So we're going to break this up and make it a little bit easier to understand, because I know I'm just throwing terms and throwing concepts at you. Don't worry, we are going to make this definition work for everybody. So I told you guys the dictionary definition. I gave you guys a little story. I've given your I've given Mrs. Bullock a list of behaviors that I now want her to go through with you guys. This is called an activity. It's called the Is It Harassment activity. And Miss Bullock is going to go through all of these behaviors. And I just want you guys to raise your hand if you think the behavior is sexual harassment or not. That's it. So at the end, we will go through every behavior and we will figure out whether or not that behavior is sexual harassment. So go ahead, I'll give Mrs. Bullock a few seconds to pause the video and do the poll, and then at the end of the poll, we'll come back to me. All right, guys. Great job on that poll. I saw a lot of hands in the air. So let's talk about it. We talked about staring, whistling, blowing a kiss, rubbing against someone, following someone, persistent friend requests on social media. I know that was a tricky one. So, which of these behaviors are sexual harassment and which ones aren't? Well, are you ready for your mind to be blown? They're all sexual harassment. Every single one of these behaviors could be sexual harassment. Now, you might be saying to yourself, but Bobby, how can staring be sexual harassment? Well, remember our definition. We talked about how any behavior can be sexual harassment if it makes the person on the receiving end feel uncomfortable. So here is an example. There's a difference, guys, between staring at somebody across the room. You know, maybe you just walked in the classroom, you're trying to see if your friends are there, trying to meet up with somebody in the cafeteria. Guys, I mean, you gotta look at people when you get into the room. That happens. Now, there's a difference between that and then staring at somebody during class. And staring and staring and staring. Okay, now if that staring makes the person that you're staring at feel uncomfortable, then guess what? That staring is sexual harassment. Now, the other key phrase that I want you guys to really listen for is the could be. Okay, any behavior could be sexual harassment. Let's take blowing a kiss, for example. Now, if you're in a relationship with somebody and maybe you and your partner have talked about it and you've decided that you guys like blowing kisses to each other. You guys like being in class, just blowing kisses across each other. You know, you see each other in the hallway, you blow a kiss. Guys, that is totally fine. That is not sexual harassment. You and your partner have had a discussion about it. You know how your partner feels about it. And that's why then it would not be sexual harassment. Now, if you're just blowing a kiss to random people in the hallway and you're not in a relationship with them, or you don't know who they are, you don't know how they feel about that air kiss, essentially, then they could take that as sexual harassment. You could be sexually harassing them. That's why it's so important, okay? So those two key words, the unwelcomed, any behavior that is unwelcomed can be considered sexual harassment. And almost any behavior could be sexual harassment. It all depends on what the person on the receiving end feels. All right, so good job with that activity, guys. Good job. I just want to reiterate that all of those behaviors could be sexual harassment if they're unwanted by the person on the receiving end, even if the person was just trying to be nice, even if the person was just trying to give a compliment, it could still be sexual harassment. Anything, any behavior that makes you feel ashamed or uncomfortable or anxious or scared or bad, that behavior is sexual harassment then. Now, there's a golden rule of sexual harassment that I'm going to ask you guys to repeat after me, just so I can really, really make sure you're listening. All right, you ready? You ready? Here's the golden rule of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is not about what the perpetrator intends, but how the person on the receiving end feels. Oh, yay, there we go, that's it. That is the golden rule of sexual harassment. Let me give you guys another example, another little story. So imagine you are hanging out at a park with a bunch of friends. You guys are just having a good time. You're skipping rocks across the water. That's what we used to do before the internet. So you're just hanging out, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden you get hit in the face with a rock. That's right, one of your friend's rocks just went totally rogue and they hit you in the face with it. Now, would you expect your friend to apologize? Yeah, you would. And why would you expect your friend to apologize? Because even though it was an accident, you still got hit in the face with a rock, didn't you? I mean, it still hurt. It's still, you're still gonna have, like a welt, a red welt on your face. So even though your friend didn't mean to hurt you with the rock, even though it was an accident, you still got hurt. And the same is true of sexual harassment, guys. That's why it is so important to respect each other and to know what sexual harassment is and what sexual harassment isn't. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the effects of sexual harassment. What happens when people are sexually harassed, or when you don't respond with respect, or when you're not respectful to other people? Okay, according to a global survey of a majority of people who experience sexual harassment, they experience anger, anxiety, and fear when this harassment occurs. Now, I want to do another little brainstorming activity with you guys. This is called the Call It What It Is activity. Now, I'm going to leave it up to Miss Bullock whether she wants to separate you guys into smaller groups or if she just wants to call on you. But basically, what I want you guys to do is I want you to brainstorm any type of behavior that could be sexual harassment. So think about our first activity with the is it harassment? And we had staring, whistling, blowing a kiss, rubbing against somebody. I want you guys to think of as many other behaviors like that you can think of that could be sexual harassment. I want you guys to think about comments that could be sexual harassment. What's something you could say to somebody that would be sexual harassment? Think about sounds, gestures, physical contact, anything like that could be sexual harassment. All right, I'll give Miss Bullock, a few minutes to do that. She can go ahead and pause the video, and when you guys are done, we'll get back to me. Awesome, guys, awesome. I really wish that I was there to see your responses. Hopefully, Mrs. Bullock will send them to me through email. I hope you guys put on there any sort of flashing or mooning, pulling on clothing, blocking somebody's path. You know what that is? Like when somebody's trying to get to class and you jump in front of them and you're like, oh, can't get around me, can't get around me. Okay, that could be sexual harassment if it makes that person uncomfortable. As well as spreading any sort of rumors, sexual or otherwise. I mean, how do you feel when rumors are being spread about you? Not good, right? So don't spread rumors about other people because they're going to feel bad too. So like I said, any behavior could be sexual harassment. Some of my other kids in other classrooms, they've come up with some really good stuff like the eyebrow wiggling. Yeah, that is that could be sexual harassment, or licking your lips, or any stuff like that. So great job, guys. Great job. Now, I kind of briefly want to talk about how sexual harassment is actually a form of sexual objectification. Now, if you guys lived in Las Vegas, you would have me for 3 whole days. Okay, obviously, we don't have that much time together, so I'm kind of gonna go over things quickly. So basically, sexual objectification, it's when you treat somebody like an object. That's pretty much it. You hear that word thrown a lot. You hear those words thrown around a lot when we talk about the media, especially women in media. They go, oh, that woman is being sexually objectified. But what does that really mean? It means treating her like an object, treating her like a thing instead of an actual person or a human being. Now, a really easy way to remember what sexual objectification is person equals thing. That's it. Person equals thing. Now, how are sexual harassment and sexual objectification connected? How? Because they are, my friend. I promise you, they are connected. Okay. They're connected because when we do these behaviors, these sexual harassment behaviors, when we make comments, sounds, gestures, and we do that without knowing how the other person feels, when we do it about not caring what the other person feels, what are we treating them like? Like an object. So, as you can see, sexual harassment and sexual objectification are actually connected. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. You guys came up with some great behaviors that could be sexual harassment. At least I'm assuming so. I'm hoping so. Now, I want to ask you guys this. Do you think hugging is sexual harassment? Give you guys a second. Maybe Mrs. Bullock wants to take some hands. So the question is hugging sexual harassment? All right, guys, here's the answer. The answer is yes! Yes, hugging could be sexual harassment. But Bobby, I hug my friends all the time, or I like hugging my parents all the time. Okay, let me make this clear for you guys. It can seem like hugging is not sexual harassment, especially when it comes to our friends and our family. Okay, hugging is like second nature, at least with me and my friends. I always like a hug. I always love hugging my friends. But here's the thing, guys. You never know if your friend wants to be hugged all the time. You don't know, maybe your friend's having a bad day, maybe they just don't want to be touched. So just like all those other behaviors that you guys brainstormed, just like all those behaviors in the polling exercise, the staring, the whistling, the blowing a kiss, hugging can be just as much a sexual harassing behavior as any of those others. Now, there is a really easy way to tell if somebody wants to be hugged or if they want any of those other behaviors we listed. There is a really easy way to tell. You ask. That's right, guys. You ask them. You say, hey, is it okay if I give you a hug? Or is it okay if I blow you a kiss sometimes? And the reason that asking somebody and asking if it's okay and asking for consent is so powerful for so many reasons. One, you are giving that person the option to back out or to say no. If you just hug somebody, if you just go up to somebody and hug them, and you don't ask them if you can, then you're not giving them the option to say no. You are not giving them that option. And then once you get that yes or that no, so if you get that no, obviously you say, cool, you respect them and their boundaries. Now, if they say yes, then you guys can both do, the hugging activity, and you can both be happy knowing that both of you are comfortable and both of you want to actually hug the other person. And that is why asking is so important. And honestly, it's a huge sign of respect, you guys. Asking somebody, asking if you can give them a hug, asking them if you want to touch their hair, just like Julie's son in the man bun. Okay, maybe your friends got their hair in a cool style and you're like, I kind of want to touch that for myself. Show them respect by asking them, because that gives them the option to say no. All right, so we went over hugging, we went over asking. Never ever assume that if something is unwanted, that the target is going to say so. I'm sure a lot of young women in this classroom will agree with me that women, we are brought up not to raise our voices. We are told not to make a big deal of things, to be quiet, to go with the flow. So we may not speak up at first. We may not say, hey, that's not cool, or we don't want that to happen, because society has conditioned us to not make a big deal. Okay, so the easiest way to tell if somebody wants to engage in that behavior with you is to extend respect and to ask them. Now, I want to do another brainstorming activity with you guys. I want to talk about how can we respond to sexual harassment. Okay, we have gone over the dictionary definition. I gave you guys some examples. We did that polling activity. We thought of a bunch of different behaviors that could be sexual harassment. Now, I want to know, how can we respond to sexual harassment? If you're being sexually harassed, or if your friend is being sexually harassed, how can we respond? What can you do? Here's what I want you guys to think about. Once again, Mrs. Bullock, feel free to break them up into small groups again, or to just have a large discussion with everybody. But basically, I want you guys to think about, what are some things that you could say to your harasser that would get them to stop? Who are some people that you could talk to, or you could tell? Where are some places that you could go? Now, here's the trick. Okay, here's the trick, guys. You can never, ever use violence to respond to sexual harassment. I know, what a bummer. But seriously, guys, I would never, ever recommend using violence unless it's a life-threatening situation. Okay, then obviously, yes, I'm going to want you guys to do what you need to do to get out of that situation and to stay safe. But for this brainstorming activity, this is not a life-threatening situation. And I do not advocate using violence, because you can both get in trouble. You can escalate the situation to very, very dangerous levels. So instead of using violence, okay, what are some other ways that we can respond? Once again, I want you to think about things you could say, places you could go, and people you could tell. And I'll let Mrs. Bullock pause the video, and we'll come back to me. All right, you guys had some awesome responses, she says, as she can't see the board. But anyways, like I said, I can't really see what you guys are saying, so I'm gonna quickly go over a few things that some of my other classes have said. Here are some things that you could say to your harasser. Stop. That's right, guys, just saying stop. is enough, or that's not cool, or back off, man, or how about this? That's harassment. That's right, folks. You can just say that. And the reason I like saying that and using that as a response is because the person who's engaging in this behavior, they may not know what they're doing is sexual harassment. I mean, did you guys know before this video that hugging could be sexual harassment? No, I don't think you did. So, not everybody gets to, have this cool day with Miss Bobby and learn about this kind of stuff. So even just saying, hey, dude, that's harassment, is enough of a response, and hopefully, they'll take the hint. Now, what if they don't? Okay, what if you say these things to your harasser and they just don't care? Here are some people that you could tell, guys. You can always talk to your teacher, Mrs. Bolick. You can always talk to the counselor, to the dean, to the principal, to your parents. Okay, these are all people who you can tell if you're experiencing sexual harassment anywhere, at school, on street. If you experience this harassment on the street, it's actually called street harassment or catcalling. That's like the whistling and people yelling at women on the street. So those are people you could tell. Where are some places you could go? Okay, I don't know if you guys have this in Texas, but we have Safe Place in Vegas. You guys see those yellow diamond road signs, Safe Place. They're seen at gas stations, so you guys can always go to a gas station with a Safe Place road sign. They are trained to get you help, to call you a cab if you need a ride home. You can always go to the police station. You can always call the police as well. Those are some people that you could talk to. You can go to your guidance counselor. So now you guys have all of these tools. Now you know how you can respond to sexual harassment without using violence. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, so you guys you rocked it. You rocked it with that. So we know what you would do if you were being sexually harassed. Now, what would you do if your friend was being harassed? Yeah, the best thing to do if your friend is being harassed is just be there for them, is just to offer support and be like, what can I do to make the situation better? Okay, you can give them some of the phrases we talked about. You can help, if they need help telling somebody, you can help them tell somebody. Really, the best way to help your friend if they're being sexually harassed is to offer support. You can also cause a distraction, you guys. If you're not good with conflict, that's actually something that I struggle with personally, is I'm not good with conflict. So if you don't want to go up to the harasser who's harassing your friend and just be like, stop it, it's totally understandable. What you can do is, here's an example, guys. Let's say you have a friend and they're being sexually harassed by somebody. You're at school. You can go up to your friend and be like, hey, did you do the math homework last night? You did? Well, why don't you come over here and help me with the math homework? Or, hey, your dad's here to pick you up. Let's go, to your dad. And that way you can safely remove your friend from that situation without any conflict. Now, I can't believe I didn't say this before, but I'm going to say it right now. Guys, sexual harassment, it does not know age and it does not know gender. So I know that I'm using a girl or a woman being harassed as most of the examples for today, but that's just because I'm a woman, okay? Men can harass women, women can harass men, men can harass men, women can harass women. It does not matter, okay? I don't want you to think that just because you're a boy, you can't be sexual harassed. That is not cool. If somebody is doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable or ashamed or scared or anxious, then you have a right to feel safe. You have a right to be comfortable, and you have a right to talk to somebody and to get help. So, once again, let me reiterate. Sexual harassment does not know age or gender. All right. Well, I mean, that's really gonna do it for me, folks. I wish I was there, like I said, so that we could really be having a discussion and talking about and really getting into sexual harassment and respect. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. If you do, please make sure to talk to Mrs. Bolick. If she can't answer them, then she will forward them on to me. I'm going to give her my email address to give to you guys. So if you guys want to talk to me directly, like, oh, I remember when Bobby was saying this thing and I just really want to ask her about it, I want you guys to be able to get a hold of me if you can. So just to kind of wrap things up, guys, today we talked about respect and sexual harassment. And remember, sexual harassment is any behavior that makes the person on the receiving end feel uncomfortable or scared or ashamed. We talked about what behaviors could be sexual harassment. We talked about what are some things that, how can we respond to sexual harassment? What are some things we could say to our harassers, some places we could go, people we could tell. We talked about how sexual harassment and sexual objectification is connected. And we talked about what can you do to help your friend or to help somebody you know if they're the ones being sexually harassed. So I just want to take a moment. I want to thank you guys so much once again for having me in your classroom. I want to thank your teacher, Mrs. Bolick. Katie, thank you so much for asking me to do this. Like I said, this is just something I'm really, really passionate about. This is stuff that you guys need to know. So yeah, that's really going to do it. Thanks again. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And email me if you guys have any questions. And Katie, I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.